Welcome to another edition of the prophetic series. This one is about the secrets of the success of the great prophets, the major prophets that you know of or you've heard of. And why are they said to be major prophets? Not just because they decided to name themselves the major prophets. No, their exploits showed that they were major in what they did or professed to be in their time. And even the contemporary major prophets share the same features or virtues that the Bible time major prophets had. I want to be specific about individual prophets picked from the Bible and show you something that was a secret behind their exploits, their victory, their fulfillment or accomplishments as prophets. Number one is Abraham, his secret divine direction. He had God in Genesis chapter 12 and verse 1. We were told that, or are told that God had said to Abraham to relocate, and he heed the voice and followed. So he became obedient to that voice. Divine direction. He followed it, and that was the root or genesis to his success. Number two, person on our list will be Joseph. A dream had he the guy dreamed, and the father had managed to interpret the dream to him as he had perceived himself, and he endeavored to lean on the interpretation of the dream as presented by his father. So he built his entire life leaning on the dictates or features or narration of this dream. Eventually, he managed to become a major prophet. Number three person I want to pick out is Daniel. Here, his secret is knowledge, please. The genesis of everything around Daniel is knowledge. Knowledge gave access to wisdom. So when we say the spirit of excellence rest upon him, wisdom gave him account or access to excellence in the process. It was his acts of wisdom that reflected excellence. But the secret was that the man leaned on knowledge. He watched Jeremiah the prophets and the contemporary prophets, probably of that day as well. And he endeavored to concern himself with digging into the writings of these prophets. This is a point I want to emphasize here. When you know or meet or encounter a prophet who doesn't only prophesy, doesn't only pray, but is conscious of knowledge and is blending his spirituality with contemporary learning and historical past. These are men you can count on. I prophesy from an informed perspective. It's not just about speaking in tongues. It's not just about reading the Bible and beginning to live in the past without the consciousness of today's mundane exposure, digital age in which we live. So there is that inclination to knowledge that we notice with the man Daniel, processed to the depth that it accounted for wisdom. So he's excelled in everything he did, including in the prophetic. The next name I want to mention is the man Isaiah, of course. A word I want us to look at with Isaiah and his success is association. The man prophet Isaiah had dealings with kings. He pitched himself among people that were elites. In his own case, unlike Daniel, who was taken to Babylon before he was given the privilege to come to the place of kings, Isaiah, as a prophet, had his ministry, pitched among kings, and served as a court prophet from one king to another. In the process, he had access to information from kings from other countries that had dealings with the kings of Judah that he served as a prophet, whose ears he had. So the man based his entire work on facts. He didn't just felt he should give out prophecy. No, he knew what kingdoms were like, nations were like, from presidential authorities of the nations of the earth. In the Middle East in particular, these guys were all interlinked, and somehow they were linked with the prophet Isaiah. So he could see into facts in real life before taking these facts into the spirit and then get what God was saying about this. So there are those today who want to prophesy to the elites or enlightened people of today, so to say, exposed people, people of the digital age, and they are not themselves exposed. And just God is saying this, God is saying that. Prophecy at that level may be blunt or blurred. It will not give us radical forensic depth in terms of revelation. That was what Isaiah was able to do real good because of his exposure. Let me use that word here. So he leaned on association. So you want to be a great prophet, try to define the boundaries of your association. You need good people around you, people who are vast. Jeremiah, complementary. He believed in synergy. He believed in a kind of teamwork. He had got a secretary. Being perhaps an illiterate, he had somebody who wrote for him and uh, believed that he also had a way of making use of this person to confirm for him his prophecies, what's correct in the society, what's happening in real life, as compared to what he was receiving from the spirit realm, so that he was not going upbeat. That gave him double assurance that it was God talking through him. Because exactly what he saw, being somebody who was not that enlightened in terms of the then knowledge or the knowledge of the day, or educational standard of the day. He wasn't schooled to that depth, but the Spirit of God managed to school him. Let's put it that way. Albeit he had a man that he interacted with. Can you see? That's a kind of association, but teamwork here, synergy, so that this guy, his secretary Barack, could look into some of the things that he was doing and confirm that yes, Jeremiah, you're good to go, prophet. And he was good. The last name on the list here is the prophet Ezekiel. The word associated with the works and exploits of the prophet Ezekiel will be patience. Yes, we can break this into a number of other related or sister words. In the prophetic, he was a man that was rooted when it comes to the understanding of scripture. He was a custodian of the Bible himself because he was a priest. He came to the point that he was established in terms of structural interconnection of the character of God, his spirit, his dealings. He had the depth there. He knew that God had processes with which he did these things. He was not like Jonah when he had or was impatient, not waiting to see exactly what God was going to say. Among our prophets, we can say that Ezekiel is one of the most patient prophets, particularly the major prophets. Very patient. And this patience kind of quality add spice to his work and placed him in the class by himself, where we saw Ezekiel, the prophet, at the end of the road. Let me add two more. Moses, humility. God said it himself. Numbers chapter 12, verse 1 to 3. Now the man Moses was meek, humble than anyone on the face of the earth. Moses, meek, humble. Tell yourself this. Humility is the key to getting God's mind. Humility gives obedience. Obedience makes you a friend of God. That was where Moses resembled Abraham. Obedience. He became the friend of God. David is another picture that I said I want to add. Soft in the core, God fearing, brokenness. It was very easy for David to be broken from Tripoli. He could be hard on the outside, winning battles, killing enemies here and there. But reach out to the heart of Moses, very soft. God can easily bend David, break David. David could cry with ease. At the core of it, prophets should be people that can break when it comes to emotion, feeling. They should have feeling. That's why they can be compassionate. They can have compassion. And that's why they can have not just sympathy, but empathy. It is here that God looks at you and releases for you the very concern of the people for which you're having empathy. or you empathizing with. You are able to settle their problem. So these are the characters or qualities that we saw associated with these prophets, major prophets. The thing is that as a prophet today, or somebody who is striving to be good in the prophetic, then be accomplished as a prophet, you must also strive to imbibe the qualities of these prophets who were major prophets before you and I, so that by living the way they lived, eventually you will win the way they won and do exploits that are inimitable, and watch God open the eyes of your spirit, the ears of your mind and understanding, so that you are able to see and hear real mysteries. These all features spelled out here in the process can be summed up into one word: the character of the major prophets. In case you're new here and you're blessed by this teaching, subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment and share to bless somebody.